What's up, YouTube? It's Matt. About 10 years ago in 2015, that was around the time where I got the opportunity to get rid of the 9 to 5 and the part-time musician and become a full-time musician. So 10 years ago, for the last 10 years, I've been making all of my income solely as a musician. Well, around that time, the gigs that I was doing started to change. Before then, I was doing local shows, local bars, stages like that, and the same paradigm that I grew up with, the big amplifiers, the big cabs, that was what I relied on in those type of gigs in order to be heard and sound the best that I could. But once I started doing the gigs that I'm doing now, worship leadership, theater work, things like that, I very quickly realized that the old way of doing things, those big amps, tube amps, high wattage, big cabs, that simply just was not going to work for me anymore. So it was around that time that I started building out a new solution for me, something compact, something fully functional, and something that would sound great and the same any environment that I played in. And that is when I started putting together the pedal board that I have relied on exclusively for all of my gigs, hundreds of gigs from 2015 to now in 2025. And today, I want to take you through my current pedal board. I want to show you how much it's cost me and all of the features that it has on it in order to show you how I'm getting by these days in the gigs that I'm doing. Let's check it out. So as we begin, I'm going to take you through the pedals that I'm using each and every week and give you just a taste of each one of them. Now, if you want me to do a deep dive into any of these pedals, simply leave me a comment. Some of them are relatively recent additions to the board. I'm going to give those pedals full-length demos. Those will be coming soon. But to begin with, we'll start with a staple that are on so many pedal boards all around the world. It is the tried, the true, the trusty Boss TU3 tuner pedal. Works great to keep you in tune, works great to mute you when you need to be silent. You just can't beat these things. They're rugged as can be. It's a great weapon in the event that you need to bash somebody's head in if they're rushing the stage. You simply can't beat Boss pedals all around. They're industry standard for a reason. They're beloved by guitarists everywhere. Get a Boss TU3. Next up is a lesser known octave pedal from Boss. This is the Boss OC3 Super Octave. This thing lives on my pedal board for one reason and one reason only. I write a lot of material. I write a lot of loops. I love to get creative, and I don't always have a bass around that I can grab. So if I'm working on something and it needs a sweet bass line, this thing can create quite a convincing bass tone from an electric guitar or an acoustic guitar. So let me kick this thing on. I'm going to play a drum loop along from my Boss RC10 looper that you'll see later in the video and kind of give you an idea of the utility of this pedal when you're deep in the creative process. A lot of guitarists who primarily use pedal boards swear by an always-on pedal that just does something to their tone to give them something extra. And for me, that is the Wampler Black 65. This pedal has been on my board since before I was using this board for gigs. I've had it probably about 15 years, and it is just the sweetest natural overdrive that I can get from a pedal. I leave it on probably around 90% of the time unless I really need a pristine, clean tone because it just adds something special to my tone. It's very responsive to your playing dynamics and just overall an awesome pedal. The only downside, the jewel light on it doesn't work anymore. But since I leave it on all the time, doesn't really matter. Let's check out some tones from it. Wampler really does dominate the overdrive section of my board, and the next pedal up is the Wampler Gearbox. I've had this pedal for a couple years because I needed something that would give me a nice lead boost on one side and a really smooth, silky, fusion-esque lead on the other side, and this pedal does exactly that. It's the Andy Wood signature pedal. On the right, you have a Klon style tone, so it sounds its best when it's pushing an already pushed tone. So leaving the Black 65 on directly into the Klon side of this pedal sounds absolutely amazing. Take a listen. On the left side of the gearbox, I have it set up to be much more heavy gain for great mid-centric focused lead tones. It also works great for palm muting, heavy rock chords, that sort of thing. Take a listen. Next up is really the heart and the soul of my pedal board, and that is the Strymon Iridium. I've been an Iridium user probably now for 5 or 6 years, and what sets the Iridium apart for me, besides the fact that it sounds amazing for my uses, is that it's simple. One of the reasons that I have not moved on to a more compact pedal board solution like the Line 6 Helix or something like that is because I get analysis paralysis so bad when I have menus to dive through. Now, I briefly had a Line 6 Pod HD300 about 10 years ago, and while it was a great pedal, I very quickly realized that I was spending way more time menu diving, tweaking tones, instead of actually practicing and playing. So I realized that modelers, at least in the iterations that they're in these days, just are not the right solution for me. So the Iridium has absolutely done the job. It's been rugged, it's been reliable, it's been awesome. 95% of the time I use it on the round amp model, which is a deluxe reverb. I have a York Audio IR that I use that I think sounds amazing. I'm happy with it. It served me so well and sounded amazing in any environment that I've asked it to perform in. Let's briefly check out some tones from the Strymon Iridium. Next up is the Wampler Terraform. For the longest time, I had a Boss CE2W, the Boss Wazacraft chorus pedal on my board, and it really did all of the modulation that I needed. But last year, I took on some theater work that required a little bit more capability in terms of modulation in order to get through the set list. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to move in a different direction with modulation, why not get an all-in-one solution that's also easy to edit and navigate and won't give me that analysis paralysis I was talking about earlier? So that's what I went with, the Wampler Terraform, and thus far I have found this to be an incredibly capable, absolutely amazing pedal. Sounds great, works great, easy to navigate, simply can't beat it. So right now I'm going to show you 2 of my favorite tones, and if you guys want a deep dive on this pedal, simply let me know in the comments. Let's check it out. Now, this next pedal is one that I've wanted to get my hands on for a long time, and just a couple weeks ago, I finally decided to pull the trigger on this, the Hologram Electronics Microcosm. For as much time as I've put into it already, I have barely scratched the surface of what this thing is capable of doing. Now, if you've seen any demos of this pedal on YouTube, you know that it excels at ambient soundscapes, big, open, amazing reverbs, that sort of thing. But I'm having just as much fun figuring out this thing's rhythmic capabilities as I am just messing around with reverbs and ambient tones. I'll have a video showcasing some of the rhythmic things I've figured out on the Hologram Microcosm coming soon, but for now, let's check out what this thing does best. This next pedal, I feel, is a modern classic, the Strymon Flint. I've had a lot of reverb pedals. I've had a couple tremolo pedals. None of them have been able to do what the Strymon Flint does in one compact package. The tremolos on it are lush, they're rich, they sound amazing, and the reverbs are absolutely stellar. My favorites, of course, are the 60s spring reverb and the 80s reverb, which just accentuates lead tones, especially with some overdrive, so unbelievably well. It's a modern classic for a reason. The Strymon Flint. I'm going to kick on both the tremolo and the reverb side at the same time so you can get an idea of how this beauty sounds. As we reach the end of the current iteration of my pedal board, this pedal and this type of pedal, the looper pedal, I think is one of the most important pedals that any guitarist can have in their arsenal. Why? Because it helps you be creative and it helps you with your practice routine. This is the Boss RC10R. I managed to snag this on Reverb 6 or 7 years ago for a stupidly low price. These things can be a little complicated, but if you take the time to learn how they function, learn their ins and outs, they will reward you immensely. Just having as many drum tracks built into it as this pedal does really inspires you to think differently when you're writing riffs and coming up with new ideas. That is just one of the many, many valuable uses for a looper pedal like this Boss RC10R. So let me run a loop. I'll show you exactly how my creative process works. I've got a drum loop queued up and I'm just going to play along with it, create something, and show you some of the functionality of my pedal board. Let's check it out. So that's it. That's the state of Matt the Guitar Guy's pedal board here in 2025. It has been 10 years since I last did a video on my pedal board. I invite you to go back and check that one out. That pedal board was designed to go in the front of an amp because it served the purpose that I needed it to serve at the time, which was going in front of an amp. But now, this thing is all I need to bring with me. I can go direct to PA if I really need to and I want to have a monitor on stage with me. I've got a Headrush FR 108 that I have used and abused for years now. I've used it at shows as small as 10 people. I used it in a theater one time with 1,000 people and a 13-piece band, and I could hear that thing just fine. I couldn't believe it kept up. But it's an amazing time to be a modern musician. There's no dearth of gear available for you to fit your needs. And in the end, I think the most important thing to realize is that every gear solution is valid if it fits your needs. It can be the smallest pedal board to the most gigantic Marshall stack. If it makes you smile and it helps you get the job done as a musician, then it's awesome. I want to thank you guys for tuning into my channel for 15 years. I can't even believe it's been that long, but it's been an absolute joy and a blessing to hang out with you guys, to talk to you guys. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I've got more stuff on the way. It's going to be an awesome 2025. So as always, please subscribe if you found this video useful. Thanks, guys.